Hello and thank you for joining us on the news. I am Philip Here are the headlines. Financially struggling Malay Ports Corporation to retrench over 500 employees. Government reduces per half of funding towards road maintenance following unilateral decision at Mira on fuel levy. Parties make final submissions in attempted judge bribery case against Dr. Tom Mbinganjira. And government shifts dates for arrival of COVID-19 vaccines over logistical challenges. Now the news in detail. Financially struggling Malay Ports Corporation is downsizing its workforce, an exercise that will see as many as 500 employees retrenched. A leaked memo, which Zodiak has seen, is asking people willing to take voluntary retrenchment amid cash flow hiccups at the corporation, which has 806 staff. The state company has a debt of over 9 billion kwacha. Spokesperson for the corporation, Aidan Kolimbo, says the decision to retrench follows recommendations of the Human Resource Department. Alina Femlamba has filed a report. Well, we'll not be able to give you that report for now. High Court Judge Dorothy D. Gabriel Thursday received final submissions in the attempted judge bribery case against Dr. Thompson Mbinganjira. In his submission, Mbinganjira's lawyer, Patrice Nkono, argued that his client was charged with offences that do not exist under law, but lead lawyer for the state, Reinek Matemba, said he had presented overwhelming evidence to secure conviction. The judge says we'll later announce when she shall deliver judgment in the matter. This report for more.
The business mogul, Dr. Thompson Mbinganjira, stands accused of 6 counts, bordering around attempting to bribe 5 High Court judges who heard the presidential elections case to sway the decision in favor of former President Peter Mutharika and the Malawi Electoral Commission MEC in 2019. In his submission, state lawyer Reinek Matemba, a former director at the bureau who effected the arrest of Mbinganjira himself, said the action of the accused were illicit.
The accused person on his own set out to engage himself in criminality. The defense raised issues of entrapment, issues of non-existence of a parcel of money, but on our part, what we focused on and emphasized in court is that the existence of a parcel, that information did not come from Justice Tembo or Justice Bodan. It voluntarily came from the accused person himself. So for the defense to try to convince the court that a parcel of money never existed, it's not only surprising, but unbelievable, because that information came from the accused person himself when he mentioned it to Justice Tembo and also Justice Bodan.
But in their final submission, defense lawyers led by Patrice Nkono prayed for an acquittal of all the 6 charges.
We feel very confident. The Constitution requires the court in making a decision to look at only the facts and the law. And we think if the court is looking at only the facts and the law, there is no evidence of offering an advantage, there is no evidence of corruption. What then would you be deciding that there is an offence that's been established? That's the point we're making. But at the end of the day, we'll see how the judge goes about it. But we think we've explained to the court properly what this is about.
Judge De Gabriel has said she will give a verdict on the matter within 2 months. For Zodiak at the High Court in Blantyre, this is Alex Banda.
Meanwhile, in Lilongwe, former Mayor Chief Executive Officer Collins Magalasi and 3 others were back in court Thursday for the fraud and money laundering case. The state has introduced General Manager for Mabedo David Weded, Matthews Mpata, as its 9th witness in the matter. Andrew Viano filed this report.
I'm used to being captured because I'm a celebrity. You get my point? Omano, next time, please, tell your management to give you proper guidance. Yeah, so cinema cannot do jambula, cinema cannot do cinema. You cannot alter the color of my cloth. That was yellow. You go there, you make it look like white.
Upon court reconvening Thursday morning, presiding magistrate Chief Resident Magistrate Patrick Chirwa gave a ruling that the state could use an audit report in the money laundering and fraud case against former Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority MERA Chief Executive Officer Collins Maglasi, business person Dorothy Shonga-Nkoma, MERA Public Relations Officer Patrick Maulidi, and MERA Procurement Officer Bright Mbewe. The ruling followed defense lawyers' objections on the use of the report, saying it contained information relating to another case against the accused and using it would jeopardize the other case. When he took to the witness box, MERA Internal Auditor Alexander Ganiza told the court that contracts awarded to Vink Enterprises owned by Dorothy Shonga-Nkoma exceeded the 30 million Gwaja MERA threshold used in requesting for quotations, thereby requiring procurement process of open tender. Ganiza told the court that Shonga was awarded contracts to supply MERA's strategic plan booklets valued at 36 million Gwaja and MERA cloth valued at 43.8 million Gwaja. When he took to the witness box, Mapeto Deputy Whitehead General Manager Martin Mpata told the court about the value of 6,000 meter cloth which his company supplied to Vink Enterprise was hovering around 8 million Gwaja. Meanwhile, Director of Public Prosecution Dr. Stephen Kayuni says so far witnesses the state paraded have said what they wanted. But defense lawyer Ande Kaonga says some of the witnesses the state paraded were not relevant. Dr. Maglasi and 3 others are answering the case of fraud and money laundering in supply of cloth at MERA in 2019.
Members of the Chancellor College Academic Staff Union Thursday held a protest at the University of Malawi in Zomba to ask President Chakwera to withhold assent to the controversial Labor Relations Amendment Bill. Union President Dr. Tiesele Chikapa says the President should call for thorough consultations before the bill is retabled in Parliament. Notable prominent figures at the protest included Drs. Age and Ngeika Nyongolo, Professor Galton Kamchezera, and Dr. Sunduzwa Madise. Meanwhile, the International Trade Union Confederation ITUC has joined those denouncing the passing of the Labor Relations Amendment Bill by Parliament, saying they are not in line with provisions of the International Labour Organization. In a letter addressed to the Office of President, dated 14 July, ITUC is appealing to President Lazarus Chakwera not to assent to the bills and refer them to the country's tripartite Labour Advisory Council for meaningful consultations. Vanani Nyirenda reports.
As the passing of the labor relations and employment bills continue to meet resistance in the country, the International Trade Union Confederation, with a membership of 200 million workers in 163 countries, has also expressed its reservations on the same. In a letter to President Lazarus Chakwera, the ITUC says the bills are not complying with provisions in the conventions under the International Labour Organization, which were ratified by the Malawi government. Among such provisions are the Convention on the Freedom of Association and Protection of Rights, which the government ratified in 1999, and the Right to Organize Collective Bargaining Convention, which was ratified in 1965. The organization is also concerned with provisions in the bills that grant employers the right to withhold wages to striking workers, saying the passing of the bills is in defiance of the country's international obligations. It wonders why a government which ascended to power through popular resistance would be quick to facilitate such laws without proper consultations with the Tripartite Labour Advisory Council. ITUC and ITUC Africa have since called on President Lazarus Chakwera not to assent to the bills and to refer them back to the Tripartite Labour Advisory Council for meaningful consultations. Meanwhile, the Malawi Congress of Trade Unions has called off demonstrations against the controversial bills following a meeting where President Lazarus Chakwera is said to have assured them that he will not be assenting to the bills till further consultations. For Zodiak, I am Vanani Nyirenda.
But President Chakwera says he's following with keen interest concerns raised by Malawians, labor and rights groups regarding the bill. Presidential Press Secretary Brian Banda says President Chakwera will look at the bill once it is submitted to his office and decide whether or not to withhold assent. The president met representatives of the Malawi Congress of Trade Union on the same matter on Wednesday. MCTU argues the bill was presented to Parliament before consultations. Government has yet again shifted dates for arrival of a consignment of 192,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines due to logistical challenges. The shipment was expected in the country Thursday. Health Minister Kumbise Kandodo-Chiponda could, however, not tell new arrival date. The vaccine has been procured with support from United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. Alina Fimlamba filed this report.
Last week, Minister of Health Kumbise Kandodo-Chiponda announced that the country was expected to get a consignment of 192,000 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine by today. But Zodiak has found that this will not go as earlier planned. The Minister Chiponda is admitting that there are logistical challenges that have caused the delays, but she does not commit as to when the consignment might arrive.
That was the expected date of delivery, but due to flight challenges, but it's en route, so we still have to get the manifest probably by the end of today, so that's when I can talk to it. And then we can tell you the date.
Currently, Malawi is struggling with the third wave of the pandemic, already with reports that major referral facilities are overwhelmed. The country has about 90% of its population unvaccinated, and the recent statistics indicated that infection rate is very high among the unvaccinated groups. Health rights activist Mazigo Matemba is calling upon government to resolve the logistical hiccups with speed and have the vaccine readily available.
As you're aware, we have just moved upstage of the cases. So I think this also gives us the country an ample time to prepare.
With this news, it means that the country's spell without any vaccine will stretch further. Although there are pledges from other partners that they will bring other types of vaccines in the country, but the actual date this will happen is not a matter of certainty.
The state of roads in the country may not improve as expected because funding for maintenance of the roads has been choked by a decision by the Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority, MERA. In the last 3 months, MERA, in consultation with Treasury, reduced roads maintenance fuel levy by 4% to cushion anticipated hike in fuel pump prices. The effect of the development has been that the value of road maintenance works offered to close to 300 bidders, valued at about 8.4 billion kwacha, has been halved, which experts say will affect the quality of the contract works going forward. You're watching the news here on Zodiac. We'll be back with more after this.
We all start differently, but we can all start with the strongest protection. Because some start early, others start late. Some from little homes, others from big ones. Some start together, or all on their own.
It doesn't matter how you start, as long as you start strong. With new Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection. Now with fluoride plus arginine for 4 times more strengthening power. So that you can give them the strongest start to their day. Colgate. Start strong, stay strong.
Welcome back. A look at the headlines as we continue. Financially struggling, Malawi Post Corporation to retrench over 500 employees. Government reduces by half funding towards road maintenance following unilateral decision by MERA on levies. Parties make final submissions in attempted judge bribery case against Dr. Tom Mpinganjira. And government shifts dates for arrival of COVID-19 vaccines over logistical challenges. Moving on. An international women's rights organization, SND, Westminster Foundation has called on female parliamentarians in the country to lead in grooming aspiring female MPs to create more room for women. Programs Officer for the foundation, Ndondwa Msaka, said after meeting the Parliamentary Women's Caucus that creating equal opportunity can only be achieved if they empower blooming politicians. Alinafe Mlamba has filed this report.
During a meeting with the Parliamentary Women's Caucus in Ilongo on Thursday, SND West Minister Foundation Program Officer Ndondwa Msaka called for deliberate efforts to be put in place in order to ensure that in future the country should have a good number of female lawmakers as well as having more women in decision-making positions. She said, for example, that one of the deliberate efforts that could work is through mentorships by current serving female parliamentarians, while pledging to offer support. Chairperson of the caucus, Loni Chijere Piri, says youths need to be showing interest to take part in politics and interest to become leaders. Currently, only less than 25% of the total number of the lawmakers in parliament are female.
The Public Affairs Committee, PAC, says it is scheduled to meet President Lazarus Chakwera on social and economic woes rocking the country. PAC spokesperson Bishop Guilford Matonga told Zodiak that it is sad that Malawians continue to experience rampant corruption, appointment of cronies into public positions, and failure by the president to fulfill his promises. Political analyst Wonderful Kuche says PAC should also remind the president to act swiftly on matters of national importance. Christopher Sunday reports.
Public Affairs Committee, PAC spokesperson Bishop Gifford Matonga says the State House has given them a nod to meet the president soon to discuss a range of issues that are currently affecting Malawians. Bishop Matonga has told us that some of the issues that they intend to raise to the president include increasing cases of corruption and the appointment of cronies into public positions. He says they will also talk about economic hardships and failure by President Chakwera to fulfill his promises, citing his delay to reshuffle his cabinet.
What concerns Malawians concerns us as a Public Affairs Committee. We are the voice of the voiceless, so issues that would want to bring the president to account of what he might have said or promised Malawians, for sure that would form part of the dialogue with the head of state.
Political analyst Wonderful Kuche says PAC should ask the president to act swiftly to issues of national importance, saying indecisiveness and slowness on how the TOS government is operating is worrisome.
Malawians expect PAC to raise such issues to make sure that the government is swift in its actions, decisions.
Recently, President Lazarus Chakwera said his government is striving for the country to achieve economic liberation and prosperity. Reporting for Zodiac, this is Christopher Sunday.
In sports, the Football Association of Malawi says it will add the 50,000 kwacha minimum wage on club licensing requirements for Super League teams beginning next season. FAM's Transfer Compliance and Club Licensing Manager, Kasper Jangali, says the idea is to help improve on player welfare. Meanwhile, Football Players Union says it will advise its members against signing new contracts unless clubs commit to the new legislation. That's about what we had time for in this news edition, but before we go, a look at the headlines. Financially struggling Malawi Post Corporation to retrench over 500 employees. Government reduces by half funding towards road maintenance following unilateral decision by Mera on levies. Parties make final submissions in attempted judge bribery case against Dr. Tom Mpinganjira. And government shifts dates for arrival of COVID-19 vaccines over logistical challenges. Visit our website zodiacmalawi.com for more news. My name is Philip Ketão da Costa. Thanks for watching.
To achieve great things in life, you must do little things every day, like the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate.